Okay. So yeah, Reddit. I guess Jen went live last night talking about the whole roster shit and blah blah blah. Basically made it like, saying like, hey, it's fucked up that we told him so late in regards to like the roster change, right? Like it was 6 days, 5 days before roster lock. So I'm going to explain like why it came down to 5-6 days before roster lock. So obviously the very beginning we had to figure out if we wanted to do it in the first place, right? So obviously like right after LAN, like me and like literally all of us were on vacation, so like we didn't really like think about it or talk about it that much, like about Apex and just the team or whatever. So basically at least like a week passed by until like we kind of figured out what we actually wanted to do, right? So that week already passed by. And another thing is that we thought the roster lock wasn't going to be moved because roster lock initially was going to be like right after Germany was finished, but then LGS moved it, which changed a lot. So first thing first, both like all of us were gone for like a week, doing our own thing and just not worrying about it. So then we wanted to tell Jen like earlier, but then Zero brought up the idea of like, because Jen brought it up too on stream, is like both Zero and Jen were in the midst of doing their visas with Falcons, and Zero was afraid that if we told Falcons too early that they would just like cancel the visa, right? Because obviously the visa costs money and time and blah 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 blah. Like why would they want to do the visa for someone that is not going to be under Falcons and shit like that? So Zero thought it would be fucked up if we told him, while in the middle or like even before we even started the visa process, right? So he didn't want to fuck him over, and I was like, okay, that's fair. That's fair. So then we waited for the visa to start, doing its thing and like, getting it done. But then obviously that was taking too long. So then we had like no choice to then move on from the visa stuff, right? So then after the visa thing, we had to make sure to talk to Falcons first and make sure that it's even possible. Because obviously when Falcons picked up both Zero and Jen at the time, they were under contract for Dark Zero. And Falcons had to buy them out. So in our head, especially in mine, if we, let's say, told Jen, like, hey, we want to replace you, and then instead, after we tell Jen, we go to Falcons and like, hey, we want to kick Jen, blah 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 blah, and then they tell us no because hey, we just bought a bunch of money or bought you guys for a bunch of money from Dark Zero. We don't want to get rid of you. You're not making a roster change. You're not allowed, right? So because that's happened before, and orgs can do that and reject. Like you can't just be like, hey, we want to remove this player or this person, and they're just gonna say like, yeah, sure. Especially considering, like I said, Falcons paid a good amount of money for the both of them in the first place, right? So we were worried if we told Jen like, hey, we're gonna kick you, and then Falcons just says no, and then what? Right? Then what? So we had to make sure we asked Falcons first, like, is this even possible? Like, can we even do this? And then and when it comes to the Falcons thing, like Falcons is also international, right? They're not like a NA org. They're European. Like some of their staff are European. So then time zone also comes into play, which delays shit, like getting a response the day of and having to wait and stuff like that. So that was also another thing why like everything was so slow. Like, Zero's in Australia, I'm in NA, and the people that we talk to when it comes to staff are in the European time zone. So, yeah, we had to make sure that it was even possible to do because of buyouts and shit like that. And then after we confirmed that we can, or Falcons was on board with it, then we had to talk to Moist, because then not only we have to make sure that we can get rid of get rid of Jen, then we have to make sure we can even pick up both Waltzy and Draugr from Moist, because again, they were on the contract and we have to buy them out. So then we have to see does Falcons want to buy them out Do they want to buy them out? Yes, no. Is it too much money? No, we don't want to do this anymore, because that was our only option, from what I know, is to pick up them two. We didn't want to anybody else. So not only we had to make sure that Falcons was on board with it in the first place, we had to make sure that Falcons was on board with buying them out, because the other two were still under contract. And obviously, imagine us saying, hey, Gen, we're going to kick you, and then along the way, Falcons like says, no, it's not going to happen, and like we're forced to basically play with the player, or Gen is forced to play with us, and he knows that we want to get rid of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are like too empathetic when it comes to the whole business shit. They're like, yeah, we should have told him earlier, blah, 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 blah. Like, as if there's no any other, like, fucking obstacles that you have to worry about when it comes to, like, you can't just fucking say, hey, I want to get rid of this person, and then for it to be fucking done the next day. Like, that's not how shit works. Like, yeah, we play fucking video games, but that's not how shit works. Like, and the whole TSM thing is also way different, because the TSM thing is my contract was up. That was way different. I was not on a contract. People didn't have to get bought out or anything like that. Way different story. Like, I was not on the contract. I didn't have to get bought out. So it was way faster. But this whole thing is Falcons bought a lot for both Gen and Zero, so we were worried that they were even going to allow us to get rid of him in the first place, because they have the right to, like, reject us when it comes to that. And two, we weren't sure if they were going to be able to buy out Moist, the Waltzy and Draugr, and that's another thing. So by the time we, like, figured out all of this shit and confirmed everything, it was Jen's birthday. They're like, conveniently, it was Jen's birthday, and I was like, do I tell him now it's fucking his birthday? Like, I'm not gonna be like, hey, happy birthday, but by the way, you're dropped. Like, you know? So, and coincidentally, Timmy fucking told him on accident. So, yeah, it was just all, like, conveniently just, like, yeah. That's basically how it went. Like, so, yeah. I don't know, like, people, like, I've like, read all the Reddit shit, like, for all the people that, then another thing, okay, so I explained the whole logical explanation, right? But I just want to separate myself from that logical thing, but just say, for all the people that deliberately think that me and Zero wanted to fuck over Gen this entire time, why would I want, like, I could have fucked him hard, like, fucked him even harder. Don't clip that. I could have fucked him even harder. I could have waited 2 days. 1 day. If I wanted to fuck him over, why didn't I wait until the day before? Why didn't I wait until 3 days before? I could have just lied and be like, no, that's not true. We're keeping you on the team. Like, you think I'm, like, stupid enough? Do you think that me or Zero are stupid enough to deliberately, like, fuck another person over? Like, when it would be so public and obvious that it was intentional. Like, if either of us wanted to fuck him over, we could have, but we didn't. It had nothing to do with fucking anybody over. Literally, you don't understand, like, I don't think people understand that. Like, 5 days, it could have been worse. Like, if I was deliberately going out of my way to fuck him over, I could have just lied and be like, no, that's not true. Like, we're not kicking you off the team. It's not true. It's not true. I could have lied. If I really wanted to be a piece of shit and deliberately fucking him over, I could have lied to his face and said, no, you're still on the team, and kept him on the Battlefy roster until the day before, or even the day of, and then fucked him over. But no, people are like, oh, yeah, these guys are pussies, they couldn't tell him earlier, blah, 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 like, yeah. Like, come on, bro. Come on. Like, let's please use our brains for once and think, like, use our brains, please. Like, just for once, like, fuck, man. Like, it's so annoying. Like, people don't, like, just like, oh yeah, this person said this, it's so true, I feel so bad for him, like, oh my god, like, he must be going through so much, like, it's, man. Like, come on, man. Like, can we just, like, use our brain? The funniest thing is that he was, like, also, Like, he was already talking to teams, like, so he assumed that he was gonna get kicked. Like, he had the vibe of getting kicked. So he was already talking to teams even before we even told him, or he found out for sure that he was getting kicked. So it's as if, like, the timeline of him getting kicked even fucking mattered in the first place, because he was doing it anyways. So, like, come on. But yeah, it's just another case of people not doing the entire thing and assuming shit as usual and just being fucking stupid as shit. So, yeah. Like, the biggest thing that I've learned from being, like, in the middle of all of this, or just in most drama in general, is that people speak on things that they have nothing, they don't know anything about. I don't know why people do it. They talk about things they have nothing, they don't know anything about, anything. They don't know the full story, they have half the book, and they feel the need to have a fucking opinion on it. And it's like, why? And Jen also, like, understands all of this. Like, I explained, like, half of that to Jen. The other half is obviously self-explanatory from a person that has experienced all of that. So, like, I don't know why he still, like, felt the need to go out of his way to, like, say it. Make it seem like we were fucking him over or whatever, but yeah, I don't know, but whatever.